Just the other day, I was talking about this new Chinese divorce law that was talking about when a couple gets married, if a man has a house or is gifted a house, in the case of divorce, that a woman might, even if she was added to the title, may not be entitled to any money or proceeds from the house. And in this video, I was talking about the fact that the red pill and all these men are sitting up here cheering like gold diggers are going to be so mad. So I made this title. It says China's new marriage law causes women to panic. And when I was talking about it, I was saying, I do not believe that this is going to cause women to panic. I think it's going to do the opposite and make it so that women do not want to actually get married. Because in these extra patriarchal societies, women are doing all of the caretaking. They have to caretake for the children, the home, and their elderly parents, both the husband and the wife's elderly parents. I was like, what would be a woman's benefit to even get married? She might as well just work. And where it stands right now, the Chinese birth rate is very low. It's like 1.1 or 1.18. I'm like, this is going to make sure that the birth rate stays low and these men in these patriarchal societies don't listen or have no forethought. Now, I'm going to continue my thoughts on this. Something that's kind of crazy in Chinese culture is this phenomenon called leftover women, which is silly considering there are like over 30 million more men than women, but they call women the leftovers if they're not married by a certain time. In China, if you are female, educated, and unmarried by the age of 27, people might use a particular term, Xing Nu, to describe your social status. It translates simply as leftover women. The label was deliberately invented to curb the rising number of single women in a traditional society, which sometimes views not marrying as a moral transgression. Some even consider it a threat to national security. Indeed, portrayals of single women as lonely, desperate, overqualified, and intimidating appear regularly in Chinese media and news outlets. Research has shown that Shang Nu's stigma has pressurized many women into marriage. Now, I believe that this is a translation to America to the childless cat ladies that they like to stigmatize here. They're calling them Xing Nu or leftover women because they're trying to push women or shame women into getting into relationships and marrying these men. The crazy thing is these leftover women are some of the most productive women. It says partly as a result of the expansion of mass education since the economic reform of the 80s, women in China appear to be increasingly confident about their place in modern society. The 7 million single women aged 24, the 7 million single women aged 25 to 34 in urban China are among the largest contributors to the country's growth. Women now contribute some 41% to China's GDP, the largest proportion of any country in the world. And our research reveals that single professional Chinese women are changing how others see them, not through protest or activism, but through their economic power. They are using consumerism to counteract long-standing stigma regarding their single status. So, there we go. They are actually productive. They're not shying away. So people can label them leftover women, but they are sitting up here having a lot of power. This article is from the World Economic Forum. It says, role of leftover women in China. First off, it's important to note that women weren't always allowed to be economic motors of China. As Lake writes, until 1906, most Chinese women had their feet bound. Until 1950, they were sold in marriage to the highest bidder. That's why you hear the term bride price is built into their culture. All right, it says, but after this tough start, two-side effects of communist rule dramatically changed the country's gender dynamic. During Mao's Cultural Revolution of the 60s and 70s, China's female employment rate became one of the highest in the world as women became sexless comrades, laboring shoulder to shoulder with men. It was hardly a glamorous promotion, but it did, for the first time ever, put many women on the same level as men. I'm going to hone in on this graph, and this is labor force participation rate as of 2010. So obviously this is a little dated, but as of 2010, so China is up here at the top. So you see the labor force participation rate of women is, it looks like about 65%, and men is at 80. For United States, it says a little under 60. I know for a fact that women's labor participation rate right now is in the 70s for women. So I know that this chart is out of date, but this is the labor force participation rate as of 2010. And it's just showing that, where women stand as far as being outside making money. And they talk about leftover women, but leftover men are the real issue, because there are so many millions more males than females in China because of their one child policy, where they edified male children. They deleted a lot of female babies. And so there are literally over 30, according to this, 35 million more leftover men than women. And so these men are literally, even if women were just running to get married, there are not going to be nearly enough women for the men that are available because of their one child policy and how they were edifying and, deciding that they were going to have male babies versus the female babies. And it's to the point where these Chinese men had to become somewhat of passport bros, going into other people's countries to get brides. So this was this is from the South China Morning Post. It says a controversial suggestion by a professor from a prestigious university in China to promote international marriages as a solution for the 35 million so-called leftover men in the country has sparked debate and outrage online. The demographic challenge stems from the decades of one-child policy, which skewed the gender ratio and led to a surplus of nearly 35 million more men than women. So women are literally in the driver's seat in whether or not they want to get married or not. So one of the things that I was talking about in my other video is, if women are not seeing any benefit to getting married, why would they get married? Especially since women still do the majority of the caretaking of the home, of the children, of the elderly parents, of everybody. Like, why would they get married? And so people are like, yay, gold diggers are going to be so mad, gold diggers. But it's like, if a woman is working, she's educated, she knows that she's going to have to do all of this caretaking, and she knows that there's no real benefit of it, especially since these men refuse to, still participate in the home. Why would a woman get married? So I grabbed this article, which is talking about the unpaid labor of women and men in China. This is from the China Global Dialogue. It says, generally, women undertake more unpaid work than men, which indicates significant gender inequalities. In China, even if time spent on unpaid domestic work has been declining with the boom of the economy, its distribution inside the family is still quite unequal. China has promised to incorporate gender equality into basic state policies at the Fourth World Conference on Women. However, national laws and policies for gender inequalities on unpaid work still need refinement. And so that is what this is talking about. The unpaid labor is still an issue. And here is a graph. This first one is China. Underneath this yellow line is unpaid work. Above the yellow line is workforce participation rates. So you can see that in China, women are working a lot, just along with the men. But if you look down here, women are doing way more work, unpaid work, than Chinese men. So that is what this diagram is showing. In 2018, women are less engaged in labor paid work, but show much higher participation in daily unpaid work than men do. In China, there are 68.8% of females participating in the labor force. However, the percentage rises to 82.8 when it comes to males. Furthermore, the disparity proportion reaches approximately 26% in the distribution of unpaid work. And then finally, I want to show the time spent in unpaid work. This first is from China. You see the disparities in this graph. Women spend way more time in unpaid work than men do. So this is what I'm saying. Why would women willingly sign up for this, knowing that they have to do more work inside the house, and men are just like, nope, I got to peen I'm not going to do this. So I'm going to wrap all this up to say, if a man doesn't make marriage look presentable, or he doesn't make it look like something that just she will really benefit from, why would a woman choose to get married to one of these men? Join the conversation. Let me know what you think about all of this. Don't forget to like, comment, and share. If you made it this far, go ahead and smash the follow button if you're not yet followed.